We are a little bit late with our March wrap up, but we're going to be doing it today. We read some pretty good books last month, so we thought we would go over all of them today and then let you guys know if we think they were worth reading.
For March, I actually read every single book on my March TBR, which is pretty rare.
I read all of my March TBR except for 2 books, so I almost got there. I feel like it was a busy month, so I didn't read as much as I thought I would, but I never do, so nothing's new. But we have some great books in front of us, so we're just gonna go ahead and get started.
Up first, I read The Coworker by Frida McFadden. We actually found this one in our last big thrifting video. I think Frida McFadden writes perfect, quick mystery thrillers, and this one was no different. 2 women, an office filled with secrets, one terrible crime that can't be taken back. I did enjoy the storyline of this one, but I just didn't find myself liking any of the characters, and that's always a big issue for me. If I can't like anyone, then why am I even reading this, you know? And I do think that this ending was a little bit predictable, and there was a few childish moments, and the amount of times that the word turtle is in this book is insane. Like, I never want to read the word turtle ever again in my life. Like, what?
Why are we talking about turtles?
I don't even want to get into it. I ended up giving it a 3.5, so it wasn't my favorite, but it was still a solid mystery thriller. I would say this is worth it. I think every Frida McFadden book is worth it.
So the first book I have is Past Perfect Life by Elizabeth Yulberg. In this book, we're following a girl named Allie, and she discovers her actual name is Amanda, and she has been missing for the past 15 years. When I read the summary, I assumed it was going to be more of a mystery thriller, but the story kind of ended out more wholesome than I thought it would be. It was less about the mystery. We kind of know up front what actually happened, and it's more about how she's gonna rebuild her life and how she's adjusting with all of this new information. So it wasn't what I was expecting, but I still did like it. I ended up giving it a 3 because I felt like it was just a solid story. YA, it was super quick. I do think it was worth the read, but I've read better YA contemporaries.
Up next, I finally read The Reunion by Kayla Olson. This one was really cute. So we're following 2 characters who used to be on this really popular hit TV show back in the day, and now they're coming back, they're having a reunion. But it's really cute because the characters themselves in the show, they kind of had this like relationship and then they fell off, and it's kind of just exactly what's happening with the real people. I thought this was a really fun idea for a romance story just because we get to see them going back to the show and we get to see them on set and some of the actual script. So I thought that part was fun, but I do think I was expecting a little bit more from the romance. I tend to not like whenever there's a lot of miscommunication, and I just felt like these 2 characters had a lot of miscommunication that was going on for years. I did end up giving this one a 3.5 stars, but if you're looking for a light, fun celebrity romance, I think this one would be a good one.
The next book I have is A Short Stay in Hell by Stephen L. Peck. I was super excited to read this one this month, and I did really enjoy it. In the story, we have a man who just passed away, and he is sent to a hell that's unlike anything he's ever expected. It's basically a vast library, and in order to get out, he has to find the book that contains his life story. I was super interested in this book. I liked the overall premise. I thought there was going to be like amazing life quotes and things that made me rethink everything, but it was more of just exploring this world. So I liked it. I gave it a 3.25. I would say it's worth reading if you're wanting a really short, unique type of literary fiction. I just wish it was a little bit longer and we would have got more.
Up next, I did read Weather Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon, and this one was so cute. So we're basically following a meteorologist and a sports reporter, and they're trying to parent trap their bosses into getting back together. But the whole concept of this book was just so much fun, and I liked that there was multiple representations and it wasn't just like a basic romance story. Like, there was a lot of deeper things going on, and I did like that our main character Russell actually had more of a dad bod and less of like that 6-pack body that we always read about in romance books. I did end up giving this a 4 stars. I definitely recommend this one. I think this one would be a great summer romance read.
So I read one darker romance this month, and it was Where's Molly by H.D. Carlton. This is about a girl we meet in the cat and mouse duet, and it's basically just her spin-off story. With this book, I felt a little bit disappointed because I thought we were gonna get so much more. When we met Molly in the series, she was such a pivotal character in a lot of what happened. So getting her story, I thought we were really gonna deep dive and get to know everything that happened to her, like before and after. Since this was such a short book, I needed more depth to our characters and the story. I did not need this insta-love romance that was thrown into it. I felt like it was one of those books that was trying to be spicy just for the sake of being spicy, and I didn't want that for this book. I only gave it a 3 star because of all those reasons. reasons. I will say though, the epilogue was everything that I wanted, and I wish we could have got more of that. She's definitely teasing like more books in this universe, so I'm hoping to read those. I don't know if this one was worth the read, honestly. If you read the Cat and Mouse duet and you are interested in getting just a little bit more, then I'd say yes, but otherwise I feel like I could have done without this. But as always with this series, I always try to make sure I emphasize how dark it is, so definitely check content warnings because I don't ever want to just be like recommending this book to anyone without them knowing what they're getting themselves into.
Next, we're going to quickly go over some of the books that we read in our last reading vlog. So first I have Bride by Ali Hazelwood, and this was one of my most anticipated reads for this whole year. And I know a lot of people loved it. I know a lot of people hated it, but I loved it. I thought the romance was really cute, and I loved learning about the differences between the vampires and werewolves in this book. Obviously, the only thing that I could relate that back to is Twilight. I loved the movies Twilight, but I never read it, so I thought this was really fun just seeing it all play out in a book. And I really wasn't expecting there to be a whole mystery throughout this whole plot, but I really think it added to it. I ended up giving it a 4-star. I had a really fun time. I definitely think it's worth it, and I love that Ali Hazelwood actually kind of set it up for potentially having a second book. I think everyone's already confirmed that it's not happening though. I don't really know. Y'all let me know, because there's definitely a spot in there where she left it open in case she wanted to do a second book. But I don't know. Definitely recommend.
The next book I have was my blind book for the month, and it was King of Battle and Blood by Scarlett St. Clair. This was a fantasy romance book. This is also kind of like arranged marriage. We're following a girl who agrees to marry the vampire king in order to avoid war with her people. In that vlog, I do go in depth on my thoughts and reactions while I was reading it, but even in that video, I said that I would not remember this book in 2 weeks' time, and I truly don't remember a lot of what happened. It's just one of those reads that are entertaining, but it left my mind as soon as I was done with it. I gave it a 3-star. I honestly don't know if I'd say this one is worth reading unless you know you already like this author's writing and want to read more from her.
I also read The Fury by Alex Michaelides, which is another one that I was really anticipating this year just because I loved The Silent Patient by this author. And I think this was another great mystery thriller. I ended up giving it a 3.75. I think in the blog I said 4, but then after reevaluating, I was like, let me drop it down just a little bit, and 3.75 feels right. This is another mystery thriller, but it's one of those where there's like a group of friends and they all go to this island. There's a murder and you have to figure out who did it. But I really did like Alex Michaelides' take on it. I really did enjoy the storytelling throughout this book, and I was really intrigued. I liked that our main character was like talking to the reader. I wouldn't think that would be something that I liked, but I actually really enjoyed that. I was not expecting the plot twist at the end, and I loved the little cameo at the end too. I think this is worth reading, but I will say The Silent Patient is still my favorite book from this author.
The other book I read in that vlog is Anarchy by Tate James. This is book 2 in the Hades series, which was a spin-off series to the Madison Kate series. This is a darker romance reverse harem type of deal. I had a lot of fun with this one. We're in the point of view of a gang leader, so we get to see the behind the scenes of how they run everything, and then we're introduced to an antagonist who is trying to destroy and undermine everything that they've done. So super entertaining. I can't wait to read the rest of this series. I gave it a 3.5. I would say this series is worth the read, but I would read Madison Kate before reading this one.
Up next, I have Apples Never Fall by Leanne Moriarty. Y'all know how long I have been wanting to read this book, how long I've been saying I was going to read this book, and a lot of you guys have warned me about this book. And I should have listened to you. But here's the thing. The show came out in March, so I was like, I have to read it so I can watch the show. The casting is stacked. It has to be great. I don't know what it was. It was just dragging, and it did not need to be this long. I thought everything was predictable. We're following a family, and basically we just see that the mother goes missing, and half of the kids think that the dad had something to do with it, and then the other half thinks that their dad would never have any sort of involvement. I loved the idea of the plot, but I just think the ending just wasn't worth it. Something crazier should have happened. I do have higher expectations for the TV show though, because I watched Big Little Lies and I absolutely loved that. So maybe the show will be a better option for me, but I did end up giving this a 3-star.
So up next we have Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. This was our March book club book, and it is a fantasy fairy tale-esque story, and we're basically just following Emily Wilde as she's collecting data for the encyclopedia that she's writing about fairies. This one I feel like was split, especially in the book club. Some people loved it, some people did not like it at all. I felt like I was somewhere in between. There were so many things about this book that I really enjoyed. I wrote all this in my Goodreads review, but I really like the fact that the entire story is told in these journal entries. I also like that the fairy world and the mortal world like overlap, and I loved exploring all the like whimsical creatures, and I loved the descriptions and everything, but the plot itself I just was not interested in. I will say I like liked the first half a lot more than the second half. I see what they were trying to do, but for some reason the story just lost me. I wasn't really intrigued. I liked our main character, but I kept putting the book down and it took me like all month to finish.
I also had such high hopes for this one, but I really just could not connect the way that I wanted to. The writing was beautiful and I did enjoy the cozy, warm feeling of it, but I was just expecting a little bit more. I gave it 3 stars.
I gave it 3 stars as well. As always, we did love reading it with the book club and seeing everyone talk about it in the chats. As far though as if I think this was worth the read, I feel like it would depend on your interests. If you like lower stakes, kind of calmer, cozy fantasy reads, yes. I think we were just looking for more of like a action-packed plot.
If you liked Legends and Lattes, yes. If you didn't, no.
Yeah, that's a good example.
Up next, I finally read Flawless by Elsie Silver. This was a really cute romance, and I do like cowboys now, thank God. I can continue with this whole series. We're following Rhett and Summer, and basically Rhett is this really well-known bull rider, and he finds himself in a little situation. He basically has a babysitter now, and it's Summer, who is his boss's daughter. I just thought their romance was really cute. It did remind me of the Liz Tomford books that I like. I loved meeting the other Eaton brothers. The family drama was juicy. I really liked everything. I gave it 4 stars, and I'm ready to read that next book.
So my last book here is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. You guys know I was starting my classics journey this month, and this one was probably the best one to start with. I absolutely loved it. I picked this one because it was one of our first assigned readings that I can remember that we had in school. I definitely did not appreciate it for what it was back then, so I'm glad I was able to reread it and appreciate it now. It's hard to review classics because I feel like I'm just so late with them, but it was such a good book. There were so many amazing quotes. I really enjoyed the writing. I'm always hesitant to read older books because I'm scared that the writing style is going to be like too complex for me to read, but I feel like this was the perfect medium. There was a bunch of metaphors and symbolism. I'm sure I'm gonna have to read it more times to really catch everything, but there's so many things talked about in this book that I think still apply to today and I think will always apply, and that's why it's a classic. But I really enjoyed it and it has me super excited to continue on with classics. Of course I'm gonna say it's worth the read. I feel like everyone should read it. Even if you were forced to read it in high school, you should reread it now because I bet you would enjoy it a lot more now.
The last one I have is Float by Kate Marchant, which was so cute. It was my first ever Wattpad read and I really enjoyed it. We're following Waverly and she has to decide if she's going to spend her summer with her mom or her dad, and she ends up choosing her aunt. And she's just one of those kids who feels very like alone and not seen, and then she ends up meeting the kids who live around her aunt. There's just like a whole found family formed and she's found her place and it's just so cute. I loved all of the characters. I could easily picture what was happening. It felt like I was there with them and experiencing all the things that they were experiencing. It was just such a perfect YA book with some romance, some family drama, found family. I do think the ending was just a little bit rushed, but I still liked it. I was still entertained. I did end up giving it a 4-star, and I just know if I would have read this when I was younger, I would have loved it so much.
So that was all the books that we read in March. I feel like amongst my entire stack, there wasn't too many that blew me away, and I think that's why I kind of got into a reading slump at the end of the month, because I liked all of these, but I don't think I was obsessed or loved any of them. That's pretty much it for today's video though. We are very excited for April. We've already started reading our April books. Our book club book for April will be Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. We're super excited to read it, and Book of the Month does have it. We do have a code if you have not signed up with Book of the Month already, and you can get your first book for $5, so we'll leave that link and code in the description, but make sure to join our book club. Can't wait to start reading this with you guys. All of that plus our social media links will be in the description as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know in the comments what your favorite book of March was. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you guys next time.
I just feel like when I have straight hair, it's just flat. Do you know what I mean? No volume. It's just stuck on my head. I don't like it. Okay,
Oh.
Hi.
Hi! The way I could never pick up my pen.
Okay, that's enough. So it was really fun to just see this romance. Oh my god, I literally hate the way that I look.
I think it looks good.
I'm sorry. Okay.
I'm like, I wish I would have straightened my hair too.
Up next, I did weed. I did weed.
I mean, Weather Girl? Do you say Wattpad or Wattpad? Because this technically is Watt.
I think I always
like
said
JJ Watts. But then when I say
you know who
it,
that is?
yeah, is he on our team?
Like the Texans.
Yeah, but
well,
whenever
he's so tired, but yeah.
Oh, he is.
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't think. Was he a?
Oh my god, points for you. I love that.
Was he quarterback?
No.
Okay. But whenever I say Wattpad, I say Watt. But then I think I hear people say Watt.
Wattpad.
I think it's Wattpad. But like,
Oh.
it looks to me like Wattpad. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, sorry. I just had to know.
I think I'd say Watt.
Yeah, I think it is Watt.
Wattpad just sounds a little crazy.
Yeah.